So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554637228, and I 100% believe Carlos Mencia, Joe Rogan. I 100% believe every word that came out of Carlos Mencia, Ned Mencia's mouth. Now, yesterday I would have put out something where I said, hey, maybe he didn't do it. He did these things by accident. Because listening to him, anyway, too far. Let me just introduce myself again. I'm Earthling, yada, yada, yada. And at one point, I gained half of my initial body weight, and then I lost it. And I've kept it off for a number of years. I quit smoking, I started exercising, I got a scholarship to go to university and do an MBA and a computer science degree. I was in the Army Reserves for a bit, and that's me. So yesterday, like I was saying, I had listened to a episode of Tiger Belly where Carlos Mencia was on, and based on his demeanor and everything that he said, I 100% believed him. After I listened to the episode, I went and started looking up more information about what happened. Like many people, I would have known Carlos Mencia from Mind of Mencia on Comedy Central, and I would have heard subsequently that he was a joke thief, and that's, I guess, why he disappeared. I guess maybe I should look up Dane Cook as well. Anyway, after I looked up the stuff from Joe Rogan's videos and this other audio of a radio show that Mencia called into, and I heard a complaint from this comedian called Ari, and I heard George Lopez had accused him of stealing stuff and other people, I was like, well, no wonder Kalila and Bobby Lee, they were so adamant that maybe it was that he did this by accident. And, he was insisting that he couldn't find people that he had aggrieved. Everybody was saying that he stole jokes, and he's like, show me where I stole the jokes from. So there are these people who are accusing him of stealing jokes. There's this guy, Ari, he's a comedian. And on Joe Rogan's video from way back when, he shows Ari telling a particular joke, and he shows Mencia telling a similar joke. Now, that seems damning, except that I don't recall there being any dates on the respective videos. And even if there were dates, those are the dates that they would have been recorded. It doesn't say who would have come up with the joke first. And it also, apparently, what throws a spoke in the wheels, something in the spokes of the wheel, is apparently people like D.L. Hughley and other people were making similar jokes at the same time. But as Mencia said, number one, he didn't steal the joke from this person. And number two, why is it that he's the only person being accused when these other people were telling a similar joke? So once I realized that, I was like, but this guy Ari, I mean, and then if you have build a wall, I guess I didn't realize that Schwarzenegger wanted to build a wall just like Trump. So I guess he has a lot of anyway, that's what people want. They want a wall. Anyway, if you're talking about building anything, Mexicans come to do construction work in America. And if you're talking about building a wall, then yeah, the joke pretty much writes itself. So there's that. Then there is this other person who was accusing Mencia of stealing his accent. Like he would do a joke every day, apparently at a particular place for a TV show. And one day Mencia came on knowing that he does this accent, an Iraqi accent, for example. And the guy is saying that it's not that there was any joke that was stolen. It's just he was using this accent that the guy himself uses in his particular piece at this show. And the guy was upset about it. And when I don't want to go too far, but let me step back. Why do I believe Mencia? Because as I saw all of these different things, as I went through all the different accusations, of which they're just 3 or 4. They're just 3 or 4. And when you realize, you can see that how can he be called a joke thief for 3 or 4 instances of this stuff? His career basically ended up in ruins because Joe Rogan posted this video that he put together of Mencia being, all the times when he lied or whatever. But my point is that, all right, I'll give you my example. What would you say if someone made a report to the police about a traffic accident, and they made a report to the insurance, and filed a claim that the other person had hit them, and when the insurance company went to follow up on what the person said, number one, they found no police report that the person claimed. They could not find the police officer who this person said that they made the report to. And furthermore, there was a report by the other person who the original person said had hit them, contradicting what the person said. Well, you would probably decide that the initial person, the first person, is a liar. And they are just a complete and utter mess of a human being that's just out for their own good. But that was my mother. My mother made a report to the police that there was an accident. The officer that she made the report to is a very difficult officer to find, but he exists. The report, the officer never recorded the information that my mother gave to him about the accident. But she did make her record what happened that day in her diary. So when it got to the point where the insurance company was telling my mother that she would have to pay for the other person's damage to the other person's car, and whatever else, her insurance would increase and blah blah blah, I figured I needed to step in. I went and I found the other officer. I put together a quote unquote case. I took pictures of the place where the accident happened. I showed how the information that the second driver gave to the insurance company contradicted with the police report that they had made themselves weeks after the incident. And so I can 100% see how something can look completely and utterly damning and just be a mistake. I can 100% see that because it's happened to me as well, not just my mother. I remember I used to cut class, and I guess the head of the class, whatever you call that particular person, the school person who is called to sometimes administer the class. I guess it's the class president or something like that. Anyway, when I cut class, this particular individual, I ran into them once when I was in a particular grade. And after, this was the second time that I had cut class, and I saw the person and they saw me, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not running the risk of this getting to be a problem. More than a year or two later, I was called into the administration of my grade, because there are people who are in charge of this particular grade. And the person asked me, we hear that you're cutting class. We want to say anything about it? And I realized that how many times was this story probably told and bounced around, this rumor, to get to the point where 2 years later, I'm sitting in front of somebody who's asking me about this thing. And they didn't do anything about it because I said, yeah, totally. I was not even in this particular grade when that happened. I did it twice, and that's it. And you can see how something can feed on itself, where not even the person that you saw, the class president or whatever, he's accusing you. It's gone on to somebody else who's called you in to talk to you, like if they don't have better things to do. So I can totally see it. There was even another time where I got upset with someone at work. I didn't insult them. I did not. All I did was I raised my voice. And afterwards, I heard that this person was bad talking me behind my back. But then I resolved what the problem was. In my head, I understood why I raised my voice at them. And I went and I said, you know what, I'm sorry about raising my voice to you. And that's that. So they stopped. They totally stopped bad talking me. But they were bad talking me to my boss. And that was a whole nother thing. Suddenly I was being accused of being a disruptive worker, and I was going to be called in to human resources per se to deal with these accusations of blah 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 that had nothing to do with anything that I'd ever done. It's just one person was upset with me because I raised my voice at them, and now because of everything that they said, here it is. So, and even the other times besides that, I'm not the type of person who makes a lot of friends or solid friendships with people. And if you don't have somebody, when people are talking behind your back, to say, no, that's not it, that's not true, no, that thing will turn over and pile up and build up and build up and build up forever until something comes of it, even if it has nothing at the center. And George Lopez accused Mencia of stealing 13 minutes of his material. Well, apparently he was only specific about one joke. And that one joke that he was specific about, that he says that Mencia stole, he is accused of stealing that joke from someone else who said that he gave Mencia permission to tell that joke. So not only is Mencia then off the hook, but Carlos Lopez is now on the hook for himself being a joke thief. Then there is when the incident where Mencia called in and talked about the stereotypical Olympics that he had. And after he gets off the phone, the host is like, yeah, we had some DJs come and pitch us that particular joke or that piece. And yeah, I'm done with Carlos. That's the end of it. So when I heard that, I felt, oh my God, this is damning evidence. Until I thought, wait a minute. I saw that apparently this was something that the DJs had also pitched to Mencia's writers. They came to Mind of Mencia. I think there's a skit on Mind of Mencia about the same thing, the stereotypical Olympics. So just the same way as a radio host knows about the joke because it was pitched to him, is the same way that Carlos knows about the joke that he got from his writers. He didn't get it from the DJs to say, oh, that's a joke I heard from the DJs, let me perform it or tell it here, there, and everywhere. As far as he knew, he was getting this joke from his people, is what I have come to hear. So that's just a horrible state of circumstances. And the radio personality did not decide to ask Carlos about it himself. He let him go off the phone, and then he's like, we're not going to have him on the show anymore. And I'm like, You could have just resolved it. But no, it would have made him feel bad. It made me feel bad. Bad. And I'm like, wow. I understand, but wow, how horrible that circumstance would be. And then there is Bobby Lee, who says that, yeah, totally, Mencia stole a joke from me. Well, Mencia was on your show, Bobby. He was on your show. And the evidence you suggested was that Mencia had stolen something from Bill Cosby, not from you. But you are supposed to be one of the witnesses. You are one of the witnesses who is saying that you didn't actually witness anything that your position as a mentee would give you. The only thing that you had was that Mencia apparently took this piece from Cosby. So, and Mencia says, yeah, totally, I see that. And he says he was uneasy about it, but it was not his intention. He did not ever hear that Bill Cosby perform that. And furthermore, when you go digging, you find out that, wait a minute, Bill Cosby himself, not that joke, but other jokes, says that he took stuff from George Carlin. And then when you check, you realize that people say, comedians, like Joe Rogan himself said, that when he started, he stole jokes from his friends, His friends are not there to say that, yeah, it was okay, but that's what he's saying. He's saying that everybody kind of does that when they start up. And okay, fine, you do it when you start up. But when you become fully fledged, you stop, right? Okay, do you completely 100% stop? Has anybody ever really gone over Joe Rogan stuff to make sure that, because this is another thing, there are people who have shared Nobel Prizes, like for the Higgs boson. There are two completely separate, distinct groups of people who have nothing to do with each other that received fame with respect to Nobel Prize for their work. And nobody is saying that one of them is a plagiarist or a thief. They're just two people who coincidentally came up with this idea for the Higgs boson at the same time. Or, for example, patents that are out there where two people come up with an idea for a TV or this or that or the other, and one is just, an hour earlier to the patent office. And we understand that those things can happen. Those things can definitely happen where people think in a similar way. Even people who would speak in different languages, one person in France, the next person in the United States, they come up with, an idea in physics or chemistry or whatever, and it happens to be at the same time. So the more that I dug, and in this LA Times article actually is where I saw most of the rebuttals to this stuff, the more that I ended up just seeing that there were a lot of people who just seemed to just accept, yeah, he's a thief. And just one person, it's just a lot of people believe this, so it's true. I know that Joe Rogan said, after I did that thing with Mencia where I was on the stage, well, Mencia was on the stage, out of turn. But he went up there, and that's another thing. Why would somebody who's guilty want to resolve the issue? Why would they get up on stage? They would just leave the club. They would just slink away. Why would they get up on stage and argue? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And listening to, Mencia on Tiger Belly, there was Bobby Lee is a liar. He will tell you so himself. Kalila will say that he's a liar, his girlfriend, all the people there. He's caught in lies all the time. And one of those lies was obviously that Carlos stole a joke from him because he could have just confronted Carlos about it instead of talking about how Carlos took a joke from Bill Cosby. He could have said, you took this joke from me. So if it is, and beyond that, there were many instances in, his story of him and Carlos where Bobby was just completely misrepresenting what happened. Like he said that Carlos made him sleep in a closet. It was a walk-in closet. They got a mattress for him to lie down on because he was complaining about somebody else's snoring. You see, when Bobby Lee says that they made him sleep in a closet, you're like, oh my God, Carlos is so horrible. Except that it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his idea. Bobby Lee was complaining and Carlos was trying to help the situation. It's really just so horrible to think of myself in the situations that I have been in and to see somebody else in a horrible situation like that too. But this time it's the entire world that believes that he is a thief. And as he said, he felt suicidal many times. And I know that Joe Rogan will never, ever accept that he was wrong for what he did. But he was wrong for what he did. And I just want to chalk it up to him just making a bad mistake and really believing in what he was saying. But it was wrong, 100% wrong. I believe everything that Carlos said, because if he was asked about his name, he brought out his green card to show. And Joe Rogan on the stage was like, oh yeah, if you change your name, they would just change it on that too, right? And it's just, and that is irrelevant. The stuff about his name was utterly irrelevant. It's exactly like I've heard many different times. At the comedy store, Mencia, the owner, would tell somebody, wear this color clothes, wear that, do this, do that. And she told Ned to use the name Carlos. That's it. It's not a big, strange thing. And even if it was, he was using a stage name. So what? It is really, really sad to see what happens to somebody. But at the end of the day, you know what? A lot worse things have happened to a lot of other people. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure it was really horrible, and it probably is really horrible to Carlos. But I'm glad that he's gotten over it. Money is not everything. He's lost a lot of money and opportunities because of it, but that's not important. You can only eat so many meals. You can only take so many plane trips. You can only buy so many houses, and you can't live in them at the same time. So I'm sure he's really has a lot more money than he knows what to do with anyway. But it's kind of hard to see it happening and be amongst the people who could easily have just tossed him away and said, yeah, he's a joke thief, he deserves all of that. I really am kind of just disgusted. But like I said, a lot worse happens to a lot of other people. Yeah, so that's it for me. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. The same way that you would want for someone to do it if this were your piece. Have a good one. Peace.